Okay, now I want you to go on and let's get into a definition of the keys. Okay, Father Paco has defined how the Roman Catholic Church sees the keys, and would you give another hypothesis for that?
Yes, the alternative to that is the parallel passage of Matthew 18, with which he is well acquainted also, and mentioned it before. Namely, that Christ was speaking to the disciples, not to Peter, and the apostles in general. And he said, if any two of you shall agree on anything on earth, it will have been done in heaven, which are bind on earth, bound in heaven. Now, the keys of the kingdom were the power to bind and loose. Peter had that power, but it wasn't Peter's power alone. Matthew 18 gives that power to you and to me to pray together that we might bind or loose. So I take that to be the alternative proposition.
Would you say that the
Roman
binding
Catholic
and loosing
position
is a declaratory power and not one of supremacy?
Yeah, I think it's a right to declare something by faith, and I think Peter had that right. But if he was really the supreme pontiff of the church, this is a very strong point, I think, then the disciples of the apostles, the men who went into the 2nd century, the great theologians of that time, would surely have recognized the primacy of Rome. And they didn't.
Okay, Father Paco, would you respond to that hypothesis? Why do you think that the evidence of the New Testament does not fit that hypothesis?
First of all, you know that when Jesus is speaking in Matthew 18, he's not speaking to the crowds, but to the apostles.
Right.
And so that, you know, it's not just we who have that same authority, except in a derived sense, but the apostles and their successors, the bishops, along with the successor Peter, have that authority to make decisions that we don't. For instance, decisions like what goes into the New Testament. That was not made by the New Testament. It was made by the bishops. They chose which books were to be canonical. The lay people didn't do it, except in that secondary sense. The bishops were the ones who were the traditores, that is, the ones who carried on the tradition as to which books derived from Paul, Peter, James, and the others. And then finally, in councils, and a series of councils, you know, decided which ones we now have the 27, and really it was not until Pope Damasus I, in giving authority to the councils of Carthage and Hippo, in the end of the 4th century, beginning of the 5th, so that we had the first time 27 books of the New Testament. Before that, we have 22 books, so that the authority of the New Testament derives from these bishops and from the Pope, and that an authority which Protestants continue to accept as their own basic authority.